Hi, I'm Tony Kuslu, beverage expert for UK and Ireland for MONIN, and today, welcome to episode 5 of our series on MONINfusion. We're going to be looking at liqueurs again, but if you remember in our previous episode, we went down the syrup-based route. Today, we're looking at making indulgent liqueurs from our sources. When it comes to making our sauce-based liqueurs, we're going to follow some of the same fundamentals that we've done with our syrup-based episode. If you haven't seen that, we'll go through it now. So, for every single liqueur that we're going to be making, we're going to be doing equal parts for 40% spirit, whether you choose whiskey, vodka, rum, 40% always. And then equal parts of that, and then our sauce. So, for our first one, we'll be opting down the vodka and chocolate route. Then we'll do vodka and caramel, but your choice of combining them is completely up to you. Just the main thing to note is these will achieve 20%. If you want to play around with your ratios, they'll obviously go up or down depending on how much alcohol you use. We will link an ABV calculator in the description below to help you do that. But the one thing you don't want to do is go below the 16% route. Now you can, but just bear in mind that you'd want to use that liqueur quite quickly because anything below 16% will start to go off over time. Anything above that, the alcohol will fortify your liqueur, and then you've got a shelf-stable product. Okay, so first sauce-based liqueur we're going to be making is a dark chocolate liqueur. Now this is going to be on the more indulgent side of things rather than something that's quite thin. The reason why I've kind of started off with the dark chocolate first is that, fun fact, this is actually vegan. So the other sauces that we have in our portfolio are not, but our dark chocolate is. So if you want a kind of really good robust chocolate liqueur that you can give to everyone, this is a good starting point. Now, before you get started, like before, what we want to do with everything that we're using to make this is make sure it's sterilized. That way, there's no impurities going into our liqueurs. So, a bottle, if you've got an old one that you've used, fantastic. If you've got a brand new one for like something you might want on display, choice is up to you. We're going to sterilize this. We're going to sterilize our funnel and our jug, and I've already cleaned the other equipment we're going to use. So, as I mentioned, just equal parts of both vodka and dark chocolate sauce. We're going to be making a 500ml batch today, so 250 and 250. Now, the other kind of important thing to note here is if you wanted to open up certain flavor profiles, especially with your chocolates and your caramels, addition of a tiny little bit of salt helps open that up. Typically, I would say anything below 1 gram per 100 mils will net you quite a salty liquid. That will then obviously be diluted in a later cocktail. If this is something that you want to give to your customers as a sipping liqueur, bring that salt down. And using our sauce, we're going up to the 500ml mark. We're going to give that a good stir just to incorporate it. And then we're going to bottle it. This sauce as well, in general, really good for garnishing the inside of glasses or tops of drinks. This can take a minute or so. If you want to throw it in a blender, absolutely fine. Doubles up as a jug and a blending vessel anyway. Again, just make sure it's all sterilized. So what we're going to do now is just fill this up, and then we're going to use this to make a kind of chocolatey twist on a White Russian. Now that just looks like liquid chocolate. It has the added benefit of being a little bit boozy. We've got our dark chocolate liqueur that we've made earlier on. We are now going to use this to make like a twist on a White Russian. But what we're going to do is we're going to take out the coffee liqueur that's normally commonplace in that drink and replace it with this. So it's more aligned to like a deconstructed chocolate martini. Which sounds quite weird, but it'll be delicious. So, let's make one. Right, so dark chocolate liqueur down. Next, we're going to be looking at caramel-based liqueurs. So we have two different caramel sauces in our portfolio. We've got salted caramel and then classic OG caramel sauce. So same as before, I'm going to do equal parts sauce, equal parts vodka, and then that will net us a 20% liqueur. This one in particular though is really good if you want to play around with like a dark rum or an aged rum to make your liqueur base. It will just give you a little bit more pronounced caramel notes. Whiskey also works quite well with caramel because caramel is quite a commonplace tasting note of whiskey. So like a good Speyside or a Highland goes well for quite indulgent but yet smoky liqueur. But we're going to keep it classic and go with vodka for now. So everything's already sterilized. So again, just 250 mils, 250 mils because I've got a 500 ml bottle here. Paste to be precise. The start process, you always end up with like a quite unsatisfying colour. Once you kind of get to about 20 seconds of stirring, you get this kind of really golden, rich liqueur. And then from there, going to double check we're all incorporated, and then we're going to transfer it into our bottle. And then, like I said, we're then going to make like a twist on a Caramel Martini. Nice and sealed. Sometimes you might just want to give it one last shake to make sure there's no bumps in there. Caramel liqueur. So now we've got our caramel liqueur. We're going to use a combination of this really delicious vodka, espresso and cream to make that kind of like caramel espresso martini twist. So very simple drink, and we're going to make one right now. Okay, so we have got our two liqueurs, our dark chocolate vegan liqueur and our kind of like classic caramel OG. We've got two other sauces on our portfolio that you can kind of have a play around with. We've also got white chocolate and then salted caramel. Now, the way you really want to kind of get interested and experimental on this is combining any of these four sauces with different types of alcohol. So we've kind of covered it a little bit, but for example, dark chocolate goes really well with certain types of whiskies, dark rum, vanilla vodka, other flavored vodkas you can look into. And then almost the same for kind of like anything on the caramel spectrum. Typically down the kind of classic vodka route or playing around with rums will really benefit aiding that kind of caramel flavor profile. If you come across anything delicious, send them our way in the comments below. We love to kind of find out our customers' own creations. And then make as many drinks as you can with them. Get really funky and experimental. I hope you've enjoyed this. See you on the next episode.